Have you ever noticed how retirement commercials always look the same? There's a couple walking down the beach, nobody's worried, nobody's checking prices, wondering if they can afford to fix the car, lying awake at 3 in the morning, wondering if they made a terrible mistake. I don't know who those people are. For a lot of folks, retirement doesn't look anything like that. Sometimes retirement's not freedom, sometimes it's fear, not because you're lazy, not because you failed, because life happened. Maybe you got laid off late in your career. A lot of that going around. Maybe there was a divorce. There's a lot of that going around too. Maybe you spent years helping your kids. Maybe it's medical bills cleaned you out. Maybe you worked hard all your whole life and still couldn't get ahead because everything kept getting more expensive. Whatever the reason, one day you wake up retired and broke. Nobody wants to admit that. It's embarrassing. You spent your whole life trying to look like you had things under control. Then suddenly you're standing in the grocery store putting things back on the shelf because they cost $5 more than they used to. That's a hard pill to swallow. Today, I want to talk about what retired broke really looks like, not to make anybody feel worse, not to scare anybody, but because pretending it doesn't exist isn't helping anybody. If this is where you are, I want you to know something right up front. You're not the only one, and you're not out of moves yet. So let's get into it. Number one, the hardest part isn't the money, it's the shame. Nobody prepares you for that. When you're working, you're solving problems every day. Something breaks, you fix it. Something costs money, you figure it out. You work extra overtime, whatever it may be. You pick up a gig on the weekends, and then you get around retirement age, and you just don't have the gas in the tank for that kind of stuff anymore. Then retirement comes, your income drops, the price keeps climbing, and all of a sudden you start feeling like you've somehow failed. You compare yourself to your friends who seem to have everything figured out. They got the RV, they're taking cruises, they're going to Cancun, Belize, some exotic spot. They're posting pictures from Lake Havasu, Arizona. Meanwhile, you're wondering if you can afford new tires. Here's the truth: comparison will bury you. Never know what's really going on behind somebody else's front door. Some people are living on borrowed money. Some inherited wealth. Some truly planned well. Good for them. But their story isn't your story. The only thing that matters now is the situation you're actually in. Shame keeps people stuck. Honesty gets people moving. The day you stop pretending everything is fine is usually the day things finally start getting better. Number two, everything becomes a math problem. When money gets tight, everything changes. You don't just go to lunch, calculate lunch. You don't fill the gas tank. You decide how much gas gets you through the week. The grocery store becomes a strategy session. You notice prices you never looked at before. You buy what's on sale instead of what sounds good. You start asking yourself questions you never imagined asking. Can this wait another month? Can I fix it myself? Do I really need this? The strange thing is, those habits aren't always bad. Some of them probably should have started years earlier, but when you're forced into them, they don't feel like wisdom. They feel like survival. Living that way month after month wears on you, not because you're weak, because carrying financial stress every single day is exhausting. It's like carrying a backpack you never get to take off. Number three, people don't see what's happening. Here's something I noticed: most people can't tell who's struggling financially. You still mow your lawn, you still smile, you still wave at neighbors. From the outside, everything looks normal. Inside, you're wondering how long the checking account is going to last. That's one reason being broke in retirement feels lonely. Nobody talks about it. People tell you about their new camper. They'll tell you about their golf game. They'll tell you about a cruise they booked. People say, I'm scared. I'm behind. I don't know what I'm doing. Everybody thinks they're the only one. They're not. There are millions of older Americans quietly doing same math every month, trying to stretch one more dollar, trying to make one more repair last another year, trying to stay independent. That's a lonely place if you think you're the only one living there. You're not. Number four, pride can become expensive. This one hits close to home. A lot of us grew up believing you handled your own problems. You didn't ask for help, you figured it out. If you wanted something in my house, you went and got a job. And I don't care if you're like 8 years old and want a bicycle, because that happened to me. There's something honorable about it. But sometimes pride costs more than the problem. Maybe there are programs that could help. Maybe there's tax breaks you qualify for. Maybe there's part time work that would fit your life. Maybe downsizing would actually bring peace instead of embarrassment. But pride keeps saying, I shouldn't have to. I understand that voice. I've heard it myself. Problem is, the voice doesn't pay your bills. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is admit things have changed. Life changed. The economy changed. Your body changed. There's nothing weak about adjusting to reality. The people who survived the hardest seasons aren't usually the toughest. They're the ones willing to adapt. Number five, you start questioning every decision you ever made. This might be the cruelest part of all. You lie awake replaying your life. Maybe I should have saved more. Maybe I should have bought a smaller house. Maybe I shouldn't have helped so many people. Maybe I should have worked longer. Maybe. Those thoughts never end. You can't invest in yesterday. You can only work with today. Regret feels productive because you're thinking hard. It isn't. It steals energy you need for the decisions that still matter. The past isn't paying your bills. Tomorrow might. That's where your attention belongs. Number six, you still have value. One thing that bothers me is how society acts like retirement means you're finished working, finished contributing, finished mattering. That's nonsense. May not move as fast as you did 30 years ago. Neither do I. But experience doesn't disappear because your hair turned gray. If anything, experience becomes more valuable. You've solved problems, raised a family, worked through recessions, made mistakes, fixed mistakes, learned things that younger people haven't even had the chance to experience yet. That's worth something. The mistake is believing your paycheck was the only thing that gave you value. It isn't. Your value was never your hourly wage. It was your character, your work ethic, your willingness to show up when things got hard. Retirement doesn't erase any of that. Being broke doesn't erase it either. Don't ever let your bank balance convince you that your life doesn't matter anymore. Those are two completely different things. Number seven, there are still moves left. Here's where I think a lot of people give up too soon. They believe retirement is permanent, like whatever happened the day they retired is how the rest of life has to be. I don't buy that. Maybe you go back to work part time. Maybe you start a small side business. Maybe you rent a room out. Maybe you sell things you no longer need. Maybe you move somewhere less expensive. Maybe you finally learn a skill you've been putting off. The point is, you still have choices. The worst thing you can do is convince yourself the story is already over. I've seen too many people rebuild after 60. I've seen people start businesses, learn new trades, find part time jobs they like. People go from barely surviving to finally breathing again. Doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. The biggest difference? They stopped asking, why did this happen to me? They started asking, what's my next move? That's a powerful question because it points forward instead of backward. Number eight, don't isolate yourself. Financial problems have a way of making people disappear. You stop going places because everything costs money. You stop accepting invitations because you're embarrassed. You stop talking about what's really going on. Little by little, your world gets smaller. That can be dangerous. We weren't built to carry hard times alone. Sometimes the best thing you can do is sit down with somebody you trust and tell them the truth, not because they're going to solve all your problems, because carrying them alone gets heavier every day. Stay connected. Go to church, meet a friend for coffee, volunteer somewhere, take a walk with a neighbor, keep living. Because once isolation takes over, it's easy to believe tomorrow will look exactly like today. That's rarely true. Number nine, the goal isn't getting rich, getting your life back. When people hear the phrase retired broke, they often think the solution is becoming wealthy. For most of us, that's probably not happening, and that's okay. The goal isn't becoming a millionaire. The goal is sleeping through the night. The goal is paying the bills without panic. The goal is having enough margin that one expected expense doesn't knock you flat. That's real wealth, peace of mind. And while money certainly helps, peace also comes from having a plan, even a simple one. When you know what you're working toward, life feels different. You're no longer drifting, you're steering. Maybe it's paying off one debt, or building a small emergency fund, or earning a couple hundred extra bucks a month. Little victories matter. They add up. More importantly, they remind you you're moving again. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Being broke in retirement doesn't just affect your wallet, it affects your confidence, relationships, how you see yourself. That's why it's important not to let money become your identity. You're in a hard season. That doesn't mean you're a failure. Seasons change. I've lived long enough to know that. Some seasons feel like they'll never end. Then one day you look back and realize they did. You made it through, not because everything suddenly became easy, because you kept making the next solid move. That's all any one of us can do. One decision, one adjustment, one step at a time. If you're retired and struggling financially right now, I want you to hear this. Don't give up. Don't disappear. Don't spend every day looking backward, wishing you'd done something different. Start with where you are. Use what you have. Ask for help if you need it. Look for opportunities instead of reasons to quit. Life may not look the way you imagined it would. Mine hasn't either, but that doesn't mean it's over. Sometimes the next chapter turns out to be better than the one you planned. Not easier, just better, because you've learned what really matters. And if that's where you are today, maybe this season isn't the end of your story. Maybe it's just a place where the next one begins. If this video helped you, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and I'd really like to hear from you. Have you found retirement to be harder financially than you expected? Or are you still working because you're trying to avoid that situation? Leave a comment below. It'll help other people. I read every one of them. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.